Just cool out, Sonny. Look, Val found some tools and crap that I think we could sell.
For money?
Hey! What are you doing?
Yeah, that's our dad's stuff.
Get off our property!
Sonny, you were right.
And this dog f***ing talks, man.
Think these guys have a screw loose, Hanker?
Hello Internet, my name is Billy, and this is your guide to the Ventureverse, a YouTube series in which I look at each episode of the Venture Brothers and give a brief synopsis, point out interesting facts, talk about its place in the greater canon of the show, and finish it off with some personal thoughts about the episode. In today's video, we will discuss Season 2, Episode 11 of the Venture Brothers, Viva Los Muertos. This episode first aired on October 1st, 2006, and was written by Ben Edlund. Let's get into it. Dr. Venture resurrects a dead henchman a la Victor Frankenstein, and Brock is thrown off by having to interact with someone he's killed. Meanwhile, a gang of meddling kids shows up to investigate the spooky happenings at the Venture compound. This is the only episode written by someone other than Jackson Publick and/or Doc Hammer. Instead, it was written by Ben Edlund, creator of The Tick, and the man responsible for introducing Jackson Publick and Doc Hammer. If you don't understand that Venturestein is a riff on Frankenstein already, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Same goes for the Groovy Gang being a parody of Scooby-Doo. What you may not know, however, is that each character is also based on a famous criminal/serial killer from the 60s or 70s. Fred from the Scooby Gang is Ted here, or Ted Bundy, a handsome, charismatic serial killer who confessed to killing 30 women. Daphne here is Patty, or Patty Hearst, who was originally taken hostage but later joined in the criminal activities of her captors. Velma is Val, or Valerie Solanas, a radical feminist who attempted to murder Andy Warhol and wrote the Scum Manifesto, which many of her quotes in the show actually are pulled from.
The few remaining men will exist as studs, breeding in the cow pasture, or they can go off to the nearest suicide center where they'll be quietly gassed to death.
And Shaggy is Sonny here, or David Berkowitz, who was also known as the Son of Sam, a serial killer that terrorized New York City in 1977, who initially claimed that a dog possessed by Satan was ordering him to kill people. Thus, Sonny is the only one who can hear the Scooby-Doo stand-in Groovy. When Dr. Orpheus receives some mail that's not his and says,
Who is Hector Molina? And why do they keep sending me his junk mail?
This may be a reference to Hector and Swifty, who have been living on the compound since Dr. Venture was a kid. Personally, I always thought that Hector Molina was just a name pulled out of a hat, since I can't really imagine Hector and Swifty getting mail on the compound. Another thing I always believed, but I was wrong about, is that this episode was the end of the clone storyline. I always assumed that Dr. Venture would go through with the sale of the clones to Manhowers, but next season we find out that that is not the case. This episode feels like a really good Season 1 episode, and that's not a knock at all. It's good, it's funny, it's fun, but it doesn't really add much new or build upon too much from the past, with the exception of the boys finding out about the clone slugs. I'd actually suggest this as a potential first episode for new fans. Not everybody will get the Johnny Quest thing, but you'd have a really hard time finding someone who doesn't get the Scooby-Doo thing, and that makes this episode super appealing to a new person who needs some sort of anchor to cling on to before diving deep into the Venture Brothers. I'm pretty sure that metaphor made zero sense, but it's getting late. I love some occasional broad humor, and I love the Venture Brothers. As always, thank you for watching, and go Team Venture. Tune in next week for Showdown at Cremation Creek Part 1. If you dug this video, share it with a friend, and if there was some huge glaring thing that I missed in this video, subscribe to me on Instagram at Ventureverse Guide to see these videos a week early and offer your input before I upload the final product.